The bench is clear. The floor is swept. The heavy promises are kept. To stay inside the perfect cage is how the actor dies on stage. Alchemists called the final phase of the great work multiplicatio, the realization that the stone was no longer bound by the vessel. The novice believes the goal of the work is to live forever inside the laboratory, constantly tending to the fire. The master knows the laboratory was just a tool. When the transmutation is complete, the master extinguishes the fire, breaks the glass, and walks out the door. If you do not know how to leave the shop, you are just a ghost haunting your own machinery. Welcome to the final tape of the Symbol Tapes. It is the end of the year here in the Rust Belt. The air is cold, the leaves are gone, and the sky is flat and gray. I am standing here in the garage by my workbench, and for the first time in almost a year, it is completely silent. The tools are wiped down and hanging on the pegboard. The floor is swept. The home projects are complete. There is absolutely nothing left for me to fix. Today, we are talking about clocking out. We are talking about the non-dual realization that you are not the machine. You are not the mechanic. You are not whatever label you put on yourself. And the person you have spent your whole life trying to fix never actually existed. In a heavy manufacturing plant, the massive steel presses and lathes are permanently bolted to the concrete floor. They belong to the factory. They are the machinery of the world. But the machinist is not bolted to the floor. The machinist comes in, puts on his heavy canvas apron, and operates the machine for an 8-hour shift. He takes his cuts, he turns the metal, he survives the noise. But when 5 o'clock p.m. hits, he does not lay down on the concrete and sleep next to the lathe. He walks to the wall, punches his time card, takes off the apron, and walks out the heavy steel doors into his actual life. For 32 tapes, we have been doing the grueling work of human adulthood. We build boundaries, we cut out the noise, we survived the deployment, we built a highly functional, sovereign character. But the ultimate terrifying truth of this entire curriculum is this: you are not the character. The instructor, the recovering overachiever, the disciplined worker, that is just the apron you wear on the shift. That is just the avatar you use to navigate the factory. True sovereignty isn't about building a better avatar. It is the sudden, quiet realization that you are the silent, non-dual awareness watching the avatar do the work through the avatar's eyes. I once heard about an old-timer who worked 40 years in a steel mill. He was a master of his trade. He knew every sound, every vibration, and every quirk of the heavy rollers. The mill was his entire identity. When he finally hit 65 and retired, they threw him a party. They gave him a watch. They told him to go enjoy his life. But he didn't know who he was without the noise of the plant. A month later, the floor manager started seeing the old-timer's truck parked out by the chain link fence at 6 a.m. He would just sit there in the cab, drinking coffee, watching the shift change, listening to the hum of the factory from the outside. He had spent so much of his life identifying as the worker that he had completely forgotten how to be a human being. He died a year later into his retirement. They scattered his ashes in the woods behind the mill. No one came to his funeral. He didn't leave a legacy. He just left a machine that didn't know his name. He successfully survived the labor, but he failed the exit. And the ultimate joke is, this guy who spent 40 years punching that time card never actually existed in the first place. I built the simple tapes and everything in it because I needed the scaffolding. I needed the structure of the instructor, the podcaster, the self-improver. I needed the mechanical metaphors to make sense of a world that felt too loud and too chaotic. And it worked. The scaffolding held. But if I keep sitting here at this bench in front of this microphone and this script, if I keep finding new ways to tell you how to fix your life, I am just the old man staring through the chain link fence. Vinny was a role this guy played on a shift. It was a useful character. But the shift is over. I don't need the scaffolding anymore, and neither do you. When you finally realize that the factory is not real life, the lab is also not real life, that the whole thing is just an amusement park, you do not have to burn everything down. You just realize it's a ride. You do your job, you smile, and then you clock out. A human who spends his or her whole life learning how to survive usually forgets that he or she is allowed to just live. So here's my final challenge to you. Walk away. Stop consuming betterment content. Stop looking for the next mental model. Stop trying to diagnose the microscopic flaws in a foundation that is already holding the weight of your life. The engine is running clean. Take your hands off the wrench. Leave the shop. Go sit outside. Drink your coffee. Look at the sky. Live the perfectly ordinary, unglamorous human adulthood that you just spent 32 tapes fighting to secure. The illusion is the work. Trust the exit. If you've been here with me at this bench for all 33 tapes, from the freezing mud of the teardown, through the heat of the summer deployment, all the way to this final quiet afternoon, I see you. You didn't just sit in the stands and listen to the noise. You stood in the heat. You stripped the rust. And you rebuilt your own foundation. You earned this quiet. I'm leaving the ledger and the keys right here on the bench because you now know everything I know. This is Vinny signing off one last time. The lights are off, the bench is empty, and it is all yours. There is no next week. The shift is done. Time to take off the apron and clock out. Above all else. Above all else. Keep it ordinary. Keep it simple.